What is going on, guys? Back here with episode, I believe, 12 now of my Puckpedia offseason series where I make a mock GM roster for each of the 32 NHL teams. Today we got none other than your recent 2025 Stanley Cup champion, back-to-back Florida Panthers. Um, this roster really, I'm not going to overcomplicate it more than it has to be. This is going to be a very simple, short video, probably. So diving right into it here. I mean, looking at the Panthers at off season, they're coming in with $19 million in projected cap space, and the holes that you have. I mean, looking at the roster here, Lundell. I mean, Lundell, you could move him up to 2C, because he could very well fill that role, but we're going to slot him back down to 3C here. And then, on defense, you have a hole at your RD2, and you need a backup goalie, as well as a third line right winger. So, not a lot of holes. And the roster guys that they do have are good enough in the roles that they're in that you don't need to go out and make trades to acquire new guys, because your team, obviously it meshes together pretty well, but you also have kind of all your positional needs taken care of by guys of good enough quality for that role. So let's see. First move we're gonna do here, we're gonna go down to the RFAs. A lot of people been talking about trading Mackie Simskevich, or getting some value out of him. I think you'd lose him if he gets offer sheeted for sure. But if he's going to be offer sheeted, it's going to be an overpay, because Florida is going to be pretty cap strapped. So to kind of drag him out of there, you got to force their hand with him. And that's the only way another team's going to get him. But I'm going to sign him here for $2.5 million for 2 years. Actually, you could probably just give him $2 million, really. But yeah. So on to our next move here. Let's go get our backup goalie. Looking at my board here, I mean, for trade, there's not really any goalie you're going to want to go and trade for. And there are some UFAs you could go for, though, who would be pretty cheap, I'd say. You'd want a pretty cheap goalie. And also, I mean, I think Bobrovsky's about to enter the last year of his contract. So you're good for now. Maybe you re-sign him for one more year after. However, though, you do need to, kind of find a goalie for once Bob's gone. Because you have all your players locked up and they're all still at a good enough age where you can, keep that competitive window open for maybe even like 5 more years, but without stellar goaltending, it's going to be hard to do, because, who knows when Bob's going to retire, how long he's going to play at this level for. I mean, he's been great for his age the last 2 years. It's been incredible. But that's only going to keep up for so long, and they just traded Spencer Knight to the Hawks for Seth Jones at the deadline. So it's kind of hard to figure out, who's that goalie of the future. I don't know if they have a guy in their prospect pool maybe who can come up and fill Bobrovsky's shoes by the time he's gone. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So back on track here. So you want a guy who's pretty cheap, because I think the Panthers are going to bring back at least two. They bring back two of Ekblad, Bennett, and Marchand. I think Ekblad and Bennett are the ones who come back. Marchand's probably most likely to walk. So looking at our board here, I mean, I like Husso. Let's see what AFP Analytics has his contract projections at. I'm kind of hoping for someone in the 900K range here. They have him at league minimum, so that's perfect. So I don't think he's quite worth league minimum. So let's see. We'll go to UFAs here. Got to make it a goaltender. Husso sign. We'll sign him 850K. 8.5 mil. 850K for 2 years. He's only 30, so Sign him till he's 32. That's fine. 850K for 2 years for your backup goalie. That's good. And that leaves us with $15.65 million to re-sign Bennett and Ekblad. So what I think is probably going to happen here is I think they're going to probably sign matching deals. They're both 29 years old. They're both pretty similar in terms of value. I mean, I was taking a look at these athletic cards, the player cards, and Ekblad's valued at $7.3 million. Now, it's important to note that the data for this is only from the regular season. This doesn't include playoffs, which is why Bennett's value is going to be pretty shocking here. But Ekblad's at 7.3 mil. Sam Bennett is at 5.5 mil. So before the playoffs, he's not really anything more than a solid like middle six guy, you know. So he's going to get a lot more money for the intangibles that he brings. But I mean, it looks like here, based off this model, I don't know how accurate people really think it is. I think it's pretty accurate. But based off this model, it says he's only worth $5.5 million. So I think signing him to anything more than like 7 would probably be a pretty big mistake for any team. Florida's lucky, though. They have the advantage of having the no state tax. So it's easier to kind of lure Bennett in and, you know, get him to sign a cheaper discount to stay in Florida, just because he'll ultimately still make the same amount, if not more money, on a $7 million contract in Florida as he would on like a $8.5, $9 million contract in like Toronto. So we're going to go ahead. We'll sign Ekblad here, 7 mil for 6 years. And then we'll give Bennett the exact same matching deal. Both 29 years old. Signed for 6 years till they're 35, which is pretty old. And give them both 7 mil. It's not too big of a hit to your cap if they end up being worth it, but I could also easily see one, if not both of these deals kind of crumbling on you after a few years. But I think right now, if you're Florida, you're more concerned about your short-term window, because maybe at the end of those deals, 6 years from now, I mean, this core is going to be pretty old and not really a cup contending team anymore. I mean, look, this whole team's like 29. Whole first line's 29. Kachuk's 27. Bennett's 29. Rodriguez is 31. Your third line here is probably like your second line in the future if you're lucky. But yeah, so this window isn't, you're not signing these guys to these deals for X amount of years because, you plan to be competitive then. I mean, even then they'll probably be forced to sign them to 8-year deals, just because if you want to sign them for less money, you got to give them more term, so that they get, net more money overall, even though it's a lower AAV. But yeah, so you're signing these deals to win within the next 2, 3, 4 years. After that, though, you're probably going to have a lot of bad contracts on your roster if you're Florida. So we'll put them in these 2 spots, which both of them fill these roles extremely well. Huge for them to have Seth Jones now to be that RD1. Play alongside Forsling. Forsling, big shutdown guy. Seth Jones, offensive guy, works perfectly. And then I'd say Ekblad and Mikkola are both kind of more two-way guys. So putting the pure offensive guy in Jones with the pure defensive guy in Forsling kind of balances that out perfectly. And then having Mikkola and Ekblad on the same pair also works out pretty well. You lose Nate Schmidt, I think. I don't know if you really have the money to bring him back. Let's see what his projected contract is. He's also old too. I think he's like 33. So I'd be a little bit skeptical to bring him back. Yeah, 33. I'd be skeptical to bring him back at about 3 mil for 2 years. It seems a little bit too much. You could bring in an LD3. Let's just see what the options kind of are here. You're not going to trade for one most likely, unless there's a guy on here you could get some good financial value out of, but it doesn't really look like it. So going for an LD3, I mean, I don't really see anyone here who would be better than Juvis Balinskis. So I think you kind of just keep Balinskis there. And he's 28, he's played a good amount of NHL games now in his career, I think. He basically played the whole regular season this year. I don't think he played any playoffs, but let's see. Show playoffs. He played 5 games in the playoffs, so I don't think he played any of the later round games because I just don't remember seeing him when watching those games. But 18 points in 76 games for a defenseman. I mean, that's okay. His goals for share is kind of bad, but his Fenwick for is pretty good. So when he's on the ice, they do control the play more. But he tends to be on the ice for more goals against than goals for. So that means like 44 when he's on the ice. 44% of the goals that go in are goals for, which means the other 56% are goals that go against. So, but his Fenwick and his Corsi are pretty good. So his possession metrics are pretty good. So yeah, and I mean, goals per 60, points per 60. He's not a big point guy or goal guy. So obviously those are kind of low, but that's not what you have him on your team for. It's more just defensive depth, maybe shut down. Like a bottom 6 for opposing teams. That's all you really need him to do. Maybe play some penalty kill minutes, but that's it. One last thing I'm going to do. So looking at the cap projections here. So with the cap rising over the next few years. So this coming year is going to be 95.5 mil. And then it jumps up 9.5 mil to 104 mil the year after. So that'll open up 25 mil in cap space for the Panthers. With no one major coming off the books except for Mikkola and Bob. So Bob, I think, you'll probably sign to a cheaper deal, but that'll be done next offseason. But what I want to do now is extend Mikkola. So you have 25 mil and you don't have major roster holes to fill. So you can kind of pay Mikkola. I'm kind of inclined to give him like a 5x5 here, but I want to look at AFP's extension projections just to see what they say. And yeah, they have him at 5.4 for 5. So I think I'll still stick with like the 5x5. Maybe it'll be 5.5x5. But screw it. We'll go with the 5.5x5. You have 25 mil in cap space. Cap's going up. It's all good. So 5.5 mil. We'll go for actually. How old is he? 29. He's 29 already. Wow. Okay. So 5.5 mil. Yeah. So we'll go 4 years. Maybe 6 mil. 6 mil for 4 years. So that's only until he's 33. Pay him 6 mil. Hefty cap hit, but cap's going up and whatever. Paying him more than Forsling would be kind of crazy. Maybe that's what you tell him in negotiations, that we don't want to pay you more than Forsling gets paid, but it's a good bar to kind of set for his negotiations, but we'll see how those go. I'm highballing him here just because it's like the conservative thing to do is, highball him. So then you have to act accordingly with the amount of cap space you have left, right? So if I sign him like lower to like 5 mil, then maybe that'll leave the Panthers with more cap space than they think they'll have. So I'm trying to make these as realistic as possible. So going for the 6 mil for 4 years, he gets more money per year, but you don't have to like have him as long. So by the time he's like 34, 35, you're not still paying him like 5.5 mil when he's really worth like 1.5, 2 mil. And more of a third pairing guy at that point. But who knows? You never know how guys will age. You can't really predict that. So we'll see. But that's going to do it for this video. This roster, not super eventful. I'm keeping it pretty much the same. No major extensions have to really be signed other than Mikkola. We've got to figure out a goaltending situation. I'm sure Bob will be re-signed for 1 or 2 more years, but, he's going to be 37 and 38 in those next 2 seasons. So it's kind of up to the Panthers management to gauge, what they do with their goaltending from there on. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do, though. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to keep up with this series. I'm going to link this Puckpedia roster directly down below in the description. So you can leave a comment either here on YouTube or click the link that'll take you to Puckpedia and leave a comment on the roster. Just let me know your thoughts because I do like to hear you guys' feedback and opinion on things. But yeah, that's going to do it. See ya.